On this episode of Political Weathervane Weekly, October 6, 2024, the vice presidential candidates, Senator J.D. Vance and Governor Tim Walz, squared off in the only vice presidential debate. We'll have the highlights. By year's end, dozens of meat processing companies are expected to close their doors. How bad will this hurt your wallet? And Donald Trump returns to Butler, Pennsylvania for the first time since the assassination attempt. We'll have reaction, all on this episode of Political Weathervane.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
Trade your freedom for a false sense of right. Together we're stronger, we won't be denied. This is freedom's last stand, let's turn the tide. Let's turn the tide.
Welcome to Political Weathervane. I'm Ben.
And I am Sean.
All right.
First vice presidential debate was this week between J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. I just found some highlights that we're going to go over in this episode. So the first highlight is J.D. Vance, and they were talking about his views on climate change.
Thank you. Senator, I want to give you an opportunity to respond there. The governor mentioned that President Trump has called climate change a hoax. Do you agree?
Well, look, what the president has said is that if the Democrats, in particular Kamala Harris and her leadership, if they really believe that climate change is serious, what they would be doing is more manufacturing and more energy production in the United States of America, and that's not what they're doing. So clearly, Kamala Harris herself doesn't believe her own rhetoric on this. If she did, she would actually agree with Donald Trump's energy policies. Now, something Governor Walz said I think is important to touch upon, because when we talk about clean energy, I think that's a slogan that often the Democrats will use here. I'm talking, of course, about the Democratic leadership. And the real issue is that if you're spending hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars of American taxpayer money on solar panels that are made in China, number one, you're going to make the economy dirtier. We should be making more of those solar panels here in the United States of America. Some of them are, Tim, but a lot of them are being made overseas in China, especially the components that go into those solar panels. So if you really want to make the environment cleaner, you've got to invest in more energy production. We haven't built a nuclear facility, I think, one in the past 40 years. Senator. Natural gas, we got to invest more in it. Kamala Harris has done the opposite. That's raised energy prices and also meant that we're doing
Senator, your time is up.
According to with J.D. Vance's opinion is we have the best technology to make it so that we don't dirty the air with pollution. And it is better when we drill for our own oil, also for a foreign policy perspective, so we don't have to count on other countries for our oil.
All right. We can go on to the next topic with J.D. Vance, immigration.
As a sitting lawmaker, you know that Congress controls the purse strings and any funding. So you have said repeatedly that Donald Trump would, through executive action, solve this. Do you disagree that Congress controls the purse strings and would need to support many of the changes that you would actually want to implement? You have 1 minute.
Look, Margaret, first of all, the gross majority of what we need to do at the southern border is just empowering law enforcement to do their job. I've been to the southern border more than our borders are. Kamala Harris has been, and it's actually heartbreaking because the Border Patrol agents, they just want to be empowered to do their job. Of course, additional resources would help, but most of this is about the president and the vice president empowering our law enforcement to say, if you try to come across the border illegally, you've got to stay in Mexico, you've got to go back through proper channels. Now, Governor Walz brought up the community of Springfield, and he's very worried about the things that I've said in Springfield. Look, in Springfield, Ohio, and in communities all across this country, you've got schools that are overwhelmed. You've got hospitals that are overwhelmed. You've got housing that is totally unaffordable because we brought in millions of illegal immigrants to compete with Americans for scarce homes. The people that I'm most worried about in Springfield, Ohio, are the American citizens who have had their lives destroyed by Kamala Harris's open border. It is a disgrace, Tim. And I actually think, I agree with you. I think you want to solve this problem, but I don't think that Kamala Harris does.
Senator, your time is up.
Yeah, Dion, my friend Dion, went to Springfield, Ohio, and saw it firsthand, and actually taught the citizens. And they said that they've seen when 20-year-old illegals got to go to high school with the regular kids, and we're gonna have an episode about that if you want to tune in. It's called Dion's Daily Dose.
All right, and we move on to Tim Walz on immigration.
Governor, you have 1 minute to respond.
Yeah, well, it is law enforcement that asked for the bill. They helped craft it. They're the ones that supported it. That's because they know we need to do this. Look, this issue of continuing to bring this up, of not dealing with it, of blaming migrants for everything. On housing, we could talk a little bit about Wall Street speculators buying up housing and making them less affordable, but it becomes a blame. Look, this bill also gives the money necessary to adjudicate. I agree. It should not take 7 years for an asylum claim to be done. This bill gets it done in 90 days. Then you start to make a difference in this, and you start to adhere to what we know, American principles. Look, I don't talk about my faith a lot, but Matthew 25:40 talks about, to the least amongst us you do unto me. I think that's true of most Americans. They simply want order to it. This bill does it. It's funded. It's supported by the people who do it, and it lets us keep our dignity about how we treat other people.
Thank you, Governor. And just to clarify for our viewers,
All right, so that was his stance on immigration, but then the moderator jumped in and interjected herself into it, and we'll play that clip as well.
Thank you, Governor. And just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important
we're
because
going to turn now to the economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
the rules were that
The
you guys
economy,
weren't going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on. So there's an application called the CBP One app, where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by
Thank
our
you,
own
Senator, for
leadership.
describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Those
We have
laws
so
have been on
much.
the books since 1990.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The
We
CBP
want to have
One app has not been on the books since 1990. It's something that Kamala Harris created, Margaret.
Gentlemen, the audience can't hear you because your mics are cut. We have so much we want to get to. Thank you for explaining the legal process.
They made their own rules of the debate, and they can't even follow their own rules that they weren't going to fact check the candidates, but the candidates were supposed to fact check themselves. What a moment.
Yeah, you hear the beginning of that, and that's what they announce, and then they just start fact checking.
And then the other thing that she said is, well, thank you for telling us the legal process, Senator. Like she was a snob and stuff. Mm-hmm. She really seemed like a snob.
All right, so this is your last highlight that you have. Tim Walz on China.
Qualifications. The vice president is often the last voice the president hears before making consequential decisions. We want to ask you about your leadership qualities. Governor Walz, you said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in small rural Nebraska, town of 400, town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and I'm proud of that service. I joined the National Guard at 17, worked on family farms, and then I used the GI Bill to become a teacher, passionate about it, a young teacher. My first year out, I got the opportunity in the summer of '89 to travel to China. 35 years ago, be able to do that. I came back home and then started a program to take young people there. We would take basketball teams, we would take baseball teams, we would take dancers, and we would go back and forth to China. The issue for that was to try and learn. Now, look, my community knows who I am. They saw where I was at. Look, I will be the first to tell you, I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect. And I'm a knucklehead at times, but it's always been about that. Those same people elected me to Congress for 12 years. And in Congress, I was one of the most bipartisan people, working on things like farm bills that we got done, working on veterans benefits. And then the people of Minnesota were able to elect me to governor twice. So look, my commitment has been from the beginning to make sure that I'm there for the people, to make sure that I get this right. I will say more than anything. Many times I will talk a lot. I will get caught up in the rhetoric. But being there, the impact it made, the difference it made in my life, I learned a lot about China. I hear the critiques of this. I would make the case that Donald Trump should have come on one of those trips with us. I guarantee you he wouldn't be praising Xi Jinping about COVID. And I guarantee you he wouldn't start a trade war that he ends up losing. So this is about trying to understand the world. It's about trying to do the best you can for your community. And then it's putting yourself out there and letting your folks understand what it is. My commitment, whether it be through teaching, which I was good at, or whether it was being a good soldier or was being a good member of Congress, those are the things that I think are the values that people care about.
Governor, just to follow up on that, the question was, can you explain the discrepancy?
All I said on this was I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said. So I was in Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
Thank you, Governor.
What's concerning is he has a history of ties with China, Walz. So that's something that we'll probably hear more about if he becomes the vice president of the United States.
All right, and I was going to play my two favorite clips of the debate.
Most importantly, the American people who are watching this evening and caring enough about this country to pay attention to this vice presidential debate. I want to answer the question, but I want to actually give an introduction to myself a little bit because I recognize a lot of Americans don't know who either one of us are. I was raised in a working class family. My mother required food assistance for periods of her life. My grandmother required Social Security help to raise me, and she raised me in part because my own mother struggled with addiction for a big chunk of my early life. I went to college on the GI Bill after I enlisted in the Marine Corps and served in Iraq. And so I stand here asking to be your vice president with extraordinary gratitude for this country, for the American dream that made it possible for me to live my dreams. And most importantly, I know that a lot of you are worried about the chaos in the world and the feeling that the American dream is unattainable. I want to try to convince you tonight over the next 90 minutes that if we get better leadership in the White House, if we get Donald Trump back in the White House, the American dream is going to be attainable once again. Now, to answer this particular question, we have to remember that as much as Governor Walz just accused Donald Trump of being an agent of chaos, Donald Trump actually delivered stability in the world, and he did it by establishing effective deterrence. People were afraid of stepping out of line. Iran, which launched this attack, has received over $100 billion in unfrozen assets thanks to the Kamala Harris administration. What do they use that money for? They use it to buy weapons that they're now launching against our allies, and God forbid, potentially launching against the United States as well. Donald Trump recognized that for people to fear the United States, you needed peace through strength. They needed to recognize that if they got out of line, the United States global leadership would put stability and peace back in the world. Now, you asked about a preemptive strike, Margaret, and I want to answer the question. Look, it is up to Israel what they think they need to do to keep their country safe, and we should support our allies wherever they are when they're fighting the bad guys. I think that's the right approach to take with the Israel question.
So, why I like that clip is I like how J.D. Vance introduced himself. I like that he showed how a more humble side, and I like the way that he just the feeling that he was like, I know where you've been. I'm not somebody who's been a career politician. I think that actually helped him a lot. So now I'm going to play my second favorite clip of the night. And this is actually not J.D. Vance. This is Tim Walz.
Those San Diego parents, I've become friends.
You previously opposed an assault weapons ban, but it's only later in your political career did you change your position. Why?
Yeah, I sat in that office with those San Diego parents. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look, the NRA, I was an NRA guy for a long time. They used to teach gun safety. I'm of an age where my shotgun was in my car so I could pheasant hunt after football practice. That's not where we live today. And several things I want to mention on this is talking about cities and where it's at.
Yeah, when he misspoke, he said that he was friends with school shooters. I just thought it was just something kind of like an uncomfortable moment.
That was an uncomfortable moment. I had to actually rewind the debate to hear the idea and to make sure I heard it right, and I did. It was a mistake, but it still looks bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we'll leave it at that. We'll be back with our story about meat prices going up.
Kamala Harris is killing the American dream.
Kamala Harris claims to support the middle class. But across the board, the middle class suffers under Kamala Harris's radical policies and agendas. Gasoline, electricity, airfare, groceries, housing, car insurance, and even school lunch costs have surged under Kamala Harris.
Starting on day one, we will defeat inflation quickly and we will make America affordable again. We're getting your prices way down. I will cut your energy costs in half. We will make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. We will create the biggest, greatest, and strongest middle class in the history of our country. In short, it will be a national economic renaissance. It's time for the working man and woman to finally catch a break. We are going to bring back the American dream bigger, better, and stronger than ever before.
For our next topic this week, dozens of meat processing plants are expected to shut down under the new EPA rules. So essentially, there has been new EPA regulations that they have made up in the last, since last fiscal year, and now it's a new fiscal year. So they're implementing new EPA guidelines on meat processing plants. This will expect to cause a number of beef and poultry supply or companies to shut down. How do you feel about this, Sean?
It's not too surprising because they always talk about how we need to eat less meat because they say it's healthier and it's better for the environment. So it's really not that surprising that they would be doing this.
It very much reminds me of the Green New Deal that they were trying to push, trying to get people away from meat products and trying to get them on a different diet. And raising prices and everything is to try to deter people from buying it and deterring people from using it. But this will see a price increase. We're expected to see for 6 straight months at least a 5.2% rise in beef and in poultry products.
If Trump wins in November, by the time he gets in January, they can start implementing new rules and stuff, but it's going to take time.
Yeah, so
it's going to take at least 6 months.
So I expect that if Trump does win, that he'll probably negate some of these things, and some of these places will be able to stay open. Or they may have to reopen because it looks like they're going to close down some at the end of this year. New rules actually reduce pollutants discharged through wastewater. So they have to limit their use of wastewater and by 100 million pounds per year.
Wow.
Yeah. Tighter limitations on nitrogen released into the environment by phosphorus. Okay, so there's just a number of ways and... Okay.
And they want you to eat that fake meat that's on the market now. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, they want the what are you talking about? The meat that's meat that's plant-based? Yeah. Plant-based meat?
Uh-huh.
That's just filled with preservatives and different stuff.
That is very unhealthy for you. There's a lot of chemicals and stuff in that.
Yeah, they got to have a lot of chemicals to make it look that way.
True.
Yeah. So I expect it to continue. Meat prices continue to rise.
It's already rised before all this.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's going to keep rising. Also, you got to think about inflation. I'm sure inflation will resume soon. So I'm sure everybody's wallets are going to be hurting. My advice is to vote Trump. So hopefully enough people will vote for Trump, and these issues we don't have to worry about these issues, that we can enjoy our meats, enjoy our burgers, enjoy our meats, enjoy our steak.
It's going to come down to 3 states, Ben. Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia.
Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Okay. So if you're from that state and you like meat, I suggest you vote for Trump.
This is for Donald Trump a chance to go out the winner he must be.
Kamala Harris demands respect. If it's not given to her, she demands it.
It's about the country that you want.
The choice could not be more stark.
The choice 2024, Harris versus Trump.
30 days. On Saturday, former President Donald Trump returned to Butler, Pennsylvania for the first time since the assassination attempt. We'll play some of the clips in the highlights right now.
Thank you very much, and thank Lee and what Lee has done with that song, and it's such an honor to have it. I want to just let you know that tonight I returned to Butler in the aftermath of tragedy and heartache to deliver a simple message to the people of Pennsylvania and to the people of America. Our movement to make America great again stands stronger, prouder, more united, more determined, and nearer to victory than ever before. We're going to make America great again. Going to win the election. Going to win the election. And to all Americans, whether you are Republican, Democrat, Independent, Conservative, or Liberal, or you have no label whatsoever, it makes no difference. Our movement, it belongs to you. It belongs to our country. It belongs to our country. And together in just 1 month, we are going to usher in a new golden age of American security, prosperity, sovereignty, and freedom for our citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. Exactly 12 weeks ago this evening on this very ground, a cold-blooded assassin aimed to silence me and to silence the greatest movement, MAGA, in the history of our country. MAGA. We love MAGA. For 16 harrowing seconds during the gunfire, time stopped as this vicious monster unleashed pure evil from his sniper's perch, not so far away. But by the hand of Providence and the grace of God, that villain did not succeed in his goal, did not come close. He did not stop our movement. He did not break out our spirit. He did not shake our unyielding resolve to save America from evils of poverty, hatred, and destruction. Yet we are here this evening in record numbers. This is a big crowd. This is a big one. This is a big one. Not only to mark the triumph of American spirit, but over, and you know that this is really, truly, in the truest sense, spirit over evil and adversity, but also to pay tribute to some of the best and bravest we have ever known. This field is now a monument to the valor of our first responders, to the resilience of our fellow citizens, and to the sacrifice of a loving and devoted father, a really great man. You know that. Forever afterward, forever after, all who have visited this hallowed place will remember what happened here, and they will know of the character and courage that so many incredible American patriots have showed and know, and they know it at a level never seen before, probably. First, I want to thank the men and women of the U.S. Secret Service who threw their bodies on top of mine without even a thought for their own lives. They were on top of me so fast. They were on top of me, and there was not even a moment of doubt in their minds. You watch those tapes, not even a moment of doubt. I want to thank Secret Service. They're great, great people. They are great people. And in that moment, those agents displayed a devotion to duty that cannot be described, and they did it yet again less than 3 weeks ago when they really did a fantastic job. Another attempt. It was another attempt. We have an evil world. We have a very sick world. My gratitude to them is beyond measure. We also owe a tremendous debt thanks to the Secret Service counter sniper and a local police sniper.
All right, so that was former President Trump talking in Butler, Pennsylvania. The crowd numbers they said were huge numbers. They said at least 60,000, but it's probably around 80,000 or so. Which, yeah, that's a huge number.
That's a huge number.
Also, Elon Musk, he's not normally in the public eye too much in up speaking. He even spoke at the rally, and we'll play a little bit of that as well.
American car company in generations, and his rocket company is the only reason we can now send American astronauts into space. Come here. Take over, Elon. Yes, take over. Hi, everyone.
As you can see, I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark MAGA. Well, first of all, I want to say what an honor it is to be here. And, the true test of someone's character is how they behave under fire. And we had one president who couldn't climb a flight of stairs, and another who was fist pumping after getting shot. Fight! Blood coming down the face. Now, America is the home of the brave. And there's no truer test than courage under fire. So who do you want representing America? Yeah, absolutely. And I think this election, I think it's the most important election of our lifetime. This is no ordinary election. The other side wants to take away your freedom of speech. They want to take away your right to bear arms. They want to. They want to take away your right to vote effectively. You got 14 states now that don't require voter ID. California, where I used to live, is just passed a law banning voter ID for voting. I still can't believe that's real. So, how are you supposed to have a proper election if there's no ID? It's just meaningless. And free speech is the bedrock of democracy. And if people don't know what's going on, if they don't know the truth, how can you make an informed vote? You must have free speech in order to have democracy. That's why it's the First Amendment. And the Second Amendment is there to ensure that we have the First Amendment. President Trump must win to preserve the Constitution. He must win to preserve democracy in America. Yes. This is a must-win situation. Must win. So I have one ask for everyone in the audience, everyone who watches this video, everyone in the live stream. This one request is very important. Register to vote. Okay? And get everyone you know and everyone you don't know, drag them to register to vote. There's only 2 days left to register to vote in Georgia and Arizona. 48 hours. Like, text people now. Now. And then make sure they actually do vote. If they don't, this will be the last election. That's my prediction. Nothing's more important. Nothing's more important.
We hear that from both sides saying that this could be the last election if our opponent wins. And it's kind of scary because whoever wins this election, one side is going to be upset.
Yeah, very much so. There is a lot at stake, though.
There is, so we will see what happens.
Like I said before, it's very rare to hear Elon Musk speak. He has like his little shows on X, Twitter sometimes and everything, but that's the first time I've ever seen him like in a public arena like that.
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah. A lot at stake, and we are only 30 days away until Election Day. Have a good weekend and take care. Don't forget to like us on YouTube and listen to Sean on Dion's Daily Dose.
They want to control us, make us comply, but we'll break the chains, we'll defy and fly. Kamala's vision may loom overhead, but in the land of the brave, we won't live in dread. Our spirits unbroken, we'll stand hand in hand. Together we fight, this is freedom's last